Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to this channel that's all about architecture, engineering, and construction, and where we also are all about bettering the African narrative. Okay, yeah. So if you are new to this channel, please subscribe and hit the like button for this video, and also share to your friends so they can get more of this content. And also, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for supporting. Thank you for following through. Thank you for joining me to better the African narrative. Okay. Yeah, so the reason why I'm here today is because you see, architecture in this nation is not taken seriously, at least by the majority of the population. That is why you can literally drive through an estate, or you can drive through a certain homestead, and you find that the houses were actually designed by different engineers, they were built by different architects here and there, but you realize the designs are actually almost the same, if actually not the same. You realize most houses inside they actually are the same, even outside they are the same. So not many people are really creative when it comes to design and architecture. But also, putting that aside, people kind of you find a lot of homes that are kind of dysfunctional. You find that at least everybody that is staying in a house, there is something they don't like about the house, or there is something they could have done different if they had been involved in the design. Okay. So what we've decided to do is that you might be an architect out there, you might be an engineer out there, or you might be a prospective builder, a prospective developer somewhere out there. So we decided to come up with a series of taking you through the steps that we actually go through while we are designing these houses, the different considerations that we make, so that at least if you're going to hire an architect, you also personally have a clue of what is actually is going on, or what actually is going on. Because some people, they find themselves in situations like that, where they have a dysfunctional house, not because it's what they wanted, or not because they didn't do their best about it, but because they didn't know. I mean, you're not an architect, or you're not an engineer, how would you have known? So you find they might not have been advised well by their architects or by their engineers. So we come to explain here, for at least for the layman, some of these things that we actually consider when we're designing houses, and actually how different parts of the house are actually supposed to be designed so that the house is functional, it's beautiful and all that. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoy the journey. I hope you guys enjoy the journey as we explain to you these things, and as we take you through these things. Okay. So today, what we actually are beginning with is actually the kitchen. We are going to be discussing the different things we consider. Now we are going to be discussing the different things that we consider while we are designing the living room, the kitchen, the dining, the different bedrooms, the master's bedroom, the exterior of the house, the interior of the house, the landscaping, that is the compound design, blah blah blah, all things like that, all the considerations that we make. So at least by the time you reach the point of having your house designed or having your house built, you at least have a proper guideline of what you actually need to have accomplished by the end of the design of the house, and then it can actually guide the builders along the way as they build the house. Okay. We are trying to do our best to we are doing as much as possible to put this industry in order, at least in my country. Okay. So please, guys, I hope you enjoy the journey, and today we're actually beginning with the kitchen. So now, talking about kitchens, okay, there are basic guiding principles that we actually follow through while we are actually dealing with kitchens, and one of them, and the four major guiding lights that we actually follow while we are designing kitchens is: one, we are looking at the easy workflow. Yeah, we want the kitchen to actually be functional in terms of whoever is using the kitchen. Someone is cooking from here, and then he has to get some things from the fridge, and then he has to get some things, he has to wash some things at the sink. We need to make sure that all those things are actually in at least an arm's distance, okay, or 2 arms distance away from each other, so that you don't have to move a lot, okay, when you are accessing things in the kitchen. Then the other things that we consider when it comes to the kitchen is natural lighting. Of course, while we are talking about natural lighting, it really depends on the size of the house, on the size of the project. You realize that there are projects which are really, really huge, like very, very huge apartments, where the kitchen might not have access to enough natural light, okay. And then you might find another areas where you can actually provide for the kitchen to have enough natural light. But it's always the best thing, and it's always in the best interest of the users of the building to have access to as much natural light as possible when it comes to the kitchen. Then the third guiding principle that you follow for kitchens is the air circulation. The kitchen has to be well aerated. You have to position things in such a way that air can easily move in and out of the kitchen. For example, you have to know where we're actually putting the cooker, where the cooker is actually going to sit. Okay. Then the other the fourth guiding principle is that we consider the access to the dining from the kitchen, of course, and also access to the exterior. Of course, now I'm talking about the kitchens, at least for the African setting usually, because you can't have a kitchen and you're doing everything from inside and there's nothing actually going on the outside, at least here in Africa, at least okay here in Uganda. Okay, so basically I have considered all those things. Then the other things that you actually consider are basic appliances in the kitchen. Okay, now I've actually had scenarios where someone had their kitchen designed, and then the time when they bring their fridge, the fridge actually has nowhere to be positioned. Yeah, the architect probably did not consider where the fridge is going to sit, or someone brings in a cooker and then there is nowhere to actually place the cooker. You get, things like that. So there are basic appliances that you actually plan for when it comes to the kitchen. Even where you actually put the cooker, it is best to always place it near the window. At least if it's not near the window, you must know that you're going to have to put extractors or chimneys that are going to extract the smoke from the kitchen. Okay, but there are certain positions where you can place the cooking worktop so that when you are cooking, there is not much smoke that is circulating within the rest of the house. So now talking about easy workflow, we have standards that we actually follow when we are doing the kitchens. We use a magic triangle to actually simulate the workflow that actually goes on in the kitchen, to know that if I'm preparing a meal, everything that I need is in at least my arm's reach. I can stretch my arm and get something from the fridge. I can stretch my arm and get and wash something at the sink, and I can still stretch my arm and attend to whatever is cooking. Okay, so those are basically things that we actually consider. Of course, they might not be achievable all at once depending on the setting that you have, but in most cases, if I can say 90% cases, that should actually be achievable. Okay, so basically when you're having your kitchens designed, have all these things in mind. Of course, now I'm talking about those functionality, easy workflow, blah 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 blah. So when it comes to finishes, now the finishes part is also just as important as the functionality of it, because the kitchen can sometimes get wet. You need to actually use non-slip tiles within the kitchen, because you don't want to slide in the kitchen. Okay, you don't want to slide in the kitchen because water probably sprinkled on the floor, blah blah blah, things like that. Then also there are different preferences that really people prefer, but the kitchen is actually supposed to be tiled up to the roof, because tiles are less likely to be stained than actual paint. Okay, so if you have paint in your kitchen, you realize that after about probably 4 years, 5 years, the paint in the kitchen is now beginning to look funny. It's now beginning to look dirty here and there. But if you have tiles, they are much easier to clean in the kitchen. Of course, some people try to avoid that. Also, when you look at the sink area, the part that actually holds the sink, because you're washing things here and there and water is actually sprinkling on the walls, you realize that some of the paint on those walls begins to peel off. Yeah, so that is why we use tiles in the kitchen walls. So you may not be able to afford having kitchen tiles all over the walls of the kitchen. Okay, you could just choose to have them just above the worktop cabinet and also just the upper cabinets. Okay, just that part which is actually most likely to get wet or to get wetted. So with all those being discussed, I hope I've considered all the things that you guys might need to know, at least as an architect or as a layman or as an upcoming engineer, an upcoming architect. Things that you can actually use to advise your client while you're helping them to design something here and there. Otherwise, I think that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoy. In the next video, we're going to be discussing more to do with the dining, more to do with the living room, and also the master bedrooms, to take you through all the things all the considerations that we actually make to have a house as functional as possible for the client. We'll also be talking about exterior designs of houses, because in this country it's really monotonous. Everywhere you go, it's the same designs of houses, and it's quite alarming. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Otherwise, let me not take much of your time. Thank you for watching.